Nationalist Spain took 9 states. Spain has been annexed. And I think I clicked past the anarchist Spain being destroyed earlier. The Spanish Civil War seems to be over as the remaining Republican forces have capitulated or gone into hiding. Though nationalist leadership has already seized upon this and declared the end of the Civil War, experts point at the ever-growing dissent within the nationalist faction itself and argue it may simply be moving to a new stage. With the loss of the common enemy, they deem it only too likely that these disagreements will further fracture the unity of the nationalists. To some extent, the nationalist leaders and the people themselves seem to see this too, as militias formed during the Civil War to defeat the Republicans have not yet been disbanded, and instead maintain a vigilant eye on their neighbours. The conflict does not seem settled yet. That is a ridiculously early Civil War victory. October 37. Historically it went on to, what, 39? That was a crazy early one. Which is actually very bad for the Allies, because from this point... Well, maybe they don't have it yet. There will be basically a ticking thing until they can join factions. And I believe that's 3 years from the end of the Civil War. Carlist Uprising hasn't even been cancelled yet. February, March 39 was when it finished. Okay. 52. So we could get the aircraft designer, but we can't actually get that until we get the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation. Which requires one of these two. Singapore, North Borneo, or the CSR. I think I want the CSR. CSIR, rather. I'm losing autonomy at the moment. Have they invested in us yet? I suspect they might have, which is why our autonomy is so low. PSA company. No, they haven't. Come on, Britain! Get a move on. Combat music's back. Yes, it is. That must mean something is about to happen. Dun dun dun. Ah, we have a new cruiser. Marvellous. Train it. And I think I might even send you to go and train with them too. Ah, and we can also refit our destroyers, which is something we should do. Okay, you are trained. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We're going to go... Actually, it'd be quicker to do it through you. Click on you. Design. So... we're going to change your fire control systems for Tier 2 sonar. We're going to add... Where are we? What would be cheaper? Upgrading you, which is 235, or adding 266. So just upgrading it would be cheaper. That would go to 21. That would go to 13. So I think adding makes more sense. I mean, they're still incredibly cheap. You know what? Considering how many of them there will be, I think this is probably okay. This is a versatile destroyer. This is going to be able to do everything. They do cost 900, so it's a bit pricey. But these are the tier 1s. I'm quite happy to upgrade these for 200 each. That's fine. When we actually settle on the tier 2, we'll probably separate them into escort destroyers and screen destroyers. But for now, this is fine. Call this the VW2 class. In fact, screw it. I have not named anything after subscribers for quite a long time. So let me... or patrons. Let's name this after patrons. Kept my list up to date. So this is going to be the Charles. Whoops. Save. And then we're going to want all of you lot to upgrade to the Charles. Yes. And now our destroyers are perfectly capable of sinking enemy submarines. And are actually quite good at it. The other thing we might want to do is grab the Sydney class and upgrade you as well. Because we're going to want you to have sonar. And we are going to give you... Oh, we can't. Oh, it has to be instead of the torpedoes. Nope. Oh, you can't have anti-submarine gear. Yes, you can. It would be instead of that turret. Huh. Well, that's interesting. So my cruisers aren't going to be able to fight subs. Which DLC I must have? Man the Guns. Man the Guns was very good. Man the Guns is what gives you these ship designers. Thinking about getting back into Hearts of Iron for all the DLC worth it. I would say Man the Guns is... here's the problem. Because each of the DLC released with a free patch, I'm not 100% sure what's part of the free patch and what's part of the DLC. Man the Guns, the ship designer, is definitely DLC. I think the naval system itself is patch. Decisions from Waking the Tiger was definitely patch. I mean, the big thing will be the focuses. Because La Resistance's focuses are quite good, especially if you want the updated France and Spain. The Spanish Civil War is good, and that's La Resistance. Agents and Operations, that's free patch. Waking the Tiger gives you the Chinese focuses, which is mostly important if you want to play as China. Death and Dishonor was by far and away the weakest DLC. That main thing there is it gives you the focuses for Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, and Romania, which are okay. Poland DLC also gives you Poland. And then there's Together for Victory, which gives you Puppet System. Actually, Together for Victory is pretty important. I would say Together for Victory and Man the Guns are the big ones. La Resistance is good, but you don't have to have it. It's good, not essential. And then Waking the Tiger and Death or Dishonor are nice to have, but not essential. 3 tiers, basically. Essential, Man the Guns, Together for Victory, good, La Resistance, and then nice to have, Waking the Tiger, Death and Dishonor. Yeah, fuel was patched as well. If you move the ship batteries around a little, the light ships would be good for killing subs. True, but if you move turrets, they are very expensive. They're not as expensive as changing armor or engines, but they do cost a lot. Like the refit cost already just for removing it is 427. That's double what my destroyer refit was. So if we did put depth charges there and then move the turret here, for example, that's almost the same price as a new light cruise. Well, it's the same price as a new destroyer, which is not worth it. Not for a refit. So I think I'm going to leave these as is. I might change them for future ships, though. So if we take a quick look at that, we'll go to the Sydney class. We'll make this the Eagle Slayer class. And it's going to have depth charge, sonar, guns. I'm going to remove the torpedoes. These would cost 3,800, which I think is actually slightly cheaper than they were previously. In fact, the other thing we could do is secondary battery and just remove that. 3,600, even cheaper. And also faster, because we have one less turret. Can also upgrade the armor. Although we don't need to. I think actually Cruiser Armor 1 is fine, because it basically protects you against destroyers. Destroyers rarely have more piercing than 6. It's only going to be other light cruisers that can even hit us. Is that right? Yeah, light pierce 1. Even if they had a tier... Oh, I can't even show you a tier 2. Hell, if I wanted to go all out, I could even do that. 13 light attack. This would be incredibly strong against both submarines and convoys. Kind of expensive, but... Oh, whoops, we've got the sonar. Same price. I quite like this. This is a good ship. Never seen someone use nukes in Heart of Iron 4. How do they work? You build a reactor. The more reactors you have, the more nukes you'll build over time. It's just like a ticking increment until you get them. Once you have them, you need air superiority over a region. You press a button, it blows up. They lose war support. All of the units in that province are killed, and I think everything is damaged. The main benefit of nukes, though, is it reduces their war support, which reduces their surrender threshold, so you can knock them out of the war easier. Oh, the trait designer is waking the tiger. Okay, that is kind of important. Then yeah, I would say the three big ones are waking the tiger, man the guns, and la resistance. Pretty sure nukes only ruin their organization. Yeah, I think that might have been a change they made. Because it definitely used to kill them. Maybe it just reduces most of their strength or something now? 50% strength, okay. Because it used to kill them, but not anymore. Because I remember bombing Cairo? No, I bombed Suez. Enemy had a massive stack on Suez, stopping me pushing across. I just bombed Suez and then just rode across. Rolled across. Yeah, I like these. This is a good design. I mean, this one does seem a little bit surplus to requirements. I think I'd rather have the secondary, because the secondary allows you to have a second target. So this ship can engage 2 enemies at once rather than just one. That's the advantage of secondaries versus other turrets. Okay, I think this is going to be an excellent ship. We will name these Eagle Slayers. And thankfully we have lots and lots and lots and lots of... Oh, that replaced the Sydney. That was not supposed to replace the Sydney, but that's okay. That'll be obsolete, but it's already partially built. I'm not going to bother refitting, because that would cost 1,000. Cool. Happy with that. Good ships. And then the other thing I need to do is make sure that I'm building only one Sydney. Cool. The Indian National Congress triumphs in the provincial elections. In the recent local elections, the Indian National Congress has achieved an overwhelming majority of their platform of slow ordered transition to local government and dominion status in the future. It appears the Indians have rejected the more radical policies advocated by Gandhi, who had argued for a total break with Britain and the absolute home rule as soon as possible. Italy announces claims on Yugoslavia. Announcing to the Italian populations along the Dalmatian coast, Benito Mussolini has announced that Italy fully considers Italian-speaking territory in Yugoslavia to be a rightful part of Italy. Speaking of which, there is or has been an update, which is an important one for Italy, and this is something which kind of screwed my beginner-friendly Italy game, is that France now starts the game guaranteeing Yugoslavia. This did not used to be the case when I recorded the beginner Italy. However, this guarantee gets removed if they abandon Czechoslovakia. That's the newest update happens. So when France drops their guarantee of Czechoslovakia after the Munich conference, then they also drop their guarantee of Yugoslavia, so you can still attack Yugoslavia early. Okay, Westminster has been adopted. We are going to get the CSIR, which is going to give us another 5% tech sharing bonus. So we're actually going to get 18% bonus for every country that has a technology. That's crazy. The Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation is our government research arm to improve the efficiency of science and the production in Australia. By increasing our support for it, we will give further energy to the sinews of war. So even though we start with only 2 research slots, we research individual technologies very quickly, and eventually we can get up to 5 research slots, in which case Australia becomes a technological powerhouse. And yes, Esquire has been playing Hearts of Iron, learning it as well. You should definitely check that out. If he plays it tonight. Right. That ship is now... Oh no, we've got 3 more being refitted. That's not going to take very long. We have a bunch of political power, but we're mostly waiting for the Australian aeroplane thing. Although actually we could get the tank designer now, because this will cost 150. The air designer is only 75. And then we can get the tank research speed there as well. And speaking of tank research, we just finished the convoy escort. Although I think I will continue getting convoy escort done. Are you done training? No. Unfortunately, there is no way of turning ships off automatically. Aircraft and land forces, yes. Ships, no. Which is a bit annoying. I think I'm going to train some more cavalry. Just 2. We'll save 12,000 manpower. But now we're getting really quite low. Anschluss of Austria. After a successful coup d'etat by the local Nazi party in Vienna, German troops have crossed the Austrian border and taken control of the country. No fighting has been reported, and the German soldiers are greeted by cheering crowds in the cities. In a speech before a massive crowd at the Heldenplatz in Vienna, Hitler announced the Anschluss of Austria, annexing the country into Germany. The oldest eastern province of the German people shall be, from this point on, the newest bastion of the German Reich. I'm actually really tempted to turn these guys into cavalry as well. It would save us a massive amount of manpower and just allow us to defend more land. I don't think I need these enormous divisions. Yeah, we're going to do that. So we can double-click one of the infantry to select them all. Then we can use this button here, change division template. We're going to turn them into cavalry. This will regain us 25,000 manpower and a bunch of infantry equipment. They will need to retrain because they're now riding horses. But that shouldn't take too long. We'll just press Shift K and off they go. Okay, here we go. Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation. Let's get it. Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation is the primary producer of aircraft and aircraft engines in Australia. It has a proven track record, and support for it will give our pilots the materials they require. Is this historical? Yes, this is historical. Insofar as Australia has a huge cavalry corps. In fact, we can probably add a couple more of these in that case. Whoops, not that many. Better. And now we'll be able to defend more ports, which means we can probably defend some of this. Nationalist victory in the Spanish Civil War. Recent weeks have seen tensions rise between the various factions of the victorious nationalists, but now, with the banishment of the recalcitrant leaders and the forceful unification of the political parties, Francisco Franco appears to have been able to mend these divides and thereby unify the remaining factions behind his cause. Though isolated pockets of Republican troops continue to wage a guerrilla war, the Civil War can finally be considered well and truly over. As the nation focuses on rebuilding its war-torn cities and industry, it remains to be seen what effects the nationalist ideological amalgamation will have on their foreign policy, and whether the generous foreign military aid they received will be repaid. Carlism is still around, recovering from Civil War. Here we go. This is removed on the 2nd of March 1943, so when I did my Carlist game, this didn't have an end point. It was permanent, so you were stuck with these penalties for the entire time. Now it gets removed on the 2nd of March 1943, so it's actually 5 years, not 3 years. Still means that Spain's basically useless until 43. Okay, battlefield support, finished. Do I really want to double down on this? Yeah, because I think that my early work in the Second World War will be Air Force. do I therefore wish to start building close air support planes? Not really, no. And the main reason I don't want to be building close air support planes is because, unfortunately, I start with a 1936 model, and you can't upgrade those with the new company upgrades I have. Which is very unfortunate. You're in for repairs, that's fine. Okay, so we are back to the production of the last of the Sydney-class cruisers that we were building. And you are back to training. You are very nearly done. You're repairing again. How do you keep damaging yourself? You're the only one training. I always thought that when ships were training and one of them gets damaged it's because they accidentally shot them. What did you do? Run into New Zealand? Crikey. I know it's a big rock, but it's kind of obvious. Dropping shells on their feet. I think I prefer the story that they ran into New Zealand. Okay, we're going to get the Empire Air Training Scheme, so we're just going to double down on our Air Force. It is time for Australia to commit to a proper air training program. With the encouragement and support of the United Kingdom, all of the Dominions will work together to contribute pilots and support crew for the war effort. And in fact, I believe that Britain has another air training thing, which makes us even stronger. I think it's in vanilla. Yep. British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. Gives us another bonus to Air Force. Because obviously we need that. Did they run into the Dutch ship disguised as an island? Was that the Dutch? I thought that was the Norway. Japan had planned an invasion of Australia but decided they needed to take Port Moresby in New Guinea to launch from. Their invasion fleet was stopped by the US Navy in the Battle of the Coral Sea in 1942. Was it Coral Sea? No. It wasn't Helfrich who died in one of the big battles. It was one of the other Dutch admirals. I think he was the highest ranking naval officer to die in the Second World War. Java Sea. There you go. Speaking of which, I still don't have any mine layers designed. And I feel like I probably should. So we're going to make these a cheap destroyer. This is going to be the Sutton class. And instead of you, we're going to have mine warfare, mine laying. Removing that, removing that. Remove that. 670. These really are just completely basic ships. I can't even give you a bigger engine. No, it's not a replacement. Oh, hang on, I can get it back. So we've got the Charles. That is not decommissioned, it's just a different ship. Okay. Solved. Dorman, that was it. And we now have 5 army experience, which is going to allow me to change these templates. I'm really tempted to do this. Because as I said before, you kind of want to keep your combat width to 10, and combat width 10 cavalry is fine. It does mean that we're going to be basically useless at anything else, except garrison duty. But I'm kind of okay with this. It's going to give us even more manpower back, and it's going to allow me to deploy a couple more cavalry divisions too. And now we really do just have a lot of coverage. So when the Dutch get into the war, I can start flooding them with cavalry forces who can react very quickly. It's the main reason I'm doing that. Oh, and we finished building everything. Excellent. Okay, so New South Wales. No, Victoria needs some civilian factories. New South Wales needs to get to level 8. then build some civvies. And at that point, I'm going to say that we are probably civvied out and we need to start building dockyards. Going to get all of my infrastructure to level 8. Marvellous. Okay, that's actually going quite quickly. I like it. Okay, the Empire Air Training Scheme. Justification for war. Germany is justifying on us. Is this Munich Conference? I think this is the Munich Conference. Unknown focus.